Title: What if the pyramids were never tombs? What if the greatest structure on Earth wasn't meant for the dead? For centuries we were told the Great Pyramid was a tomb, built to honor a pharaoh. But there's just one problem. No body was ever found. No hieroglyphs naming the dead, no funerary texts, no soot on the walls from torches, despite chambers buried deep in total darkness. So then the question becomes, what was it really for? Now, a new theory, both ancient and revolutionary, is emerging. That the Great Pyramid wasn't a burial monument, but a machine, a living generator built from stone, water, resonance, and sacred geometry. One that amplified energy, not to power light bulbs, but to awaken consciousness. Buried beneath its structure lies a system of underground aquifers. Its granite blocks hum with piezoelectric potential. Its alignment to true north is more precise than modern architecture, and its proportions encode the Earth itself. This wasn't random. This was intentional. This was knowledge. And maybe, just maybe, it's the knowledge we weren't meant to remember. Because if the ancients understood how to generate power from the Earth, without wires, without fuel, without destruction, then what else did they leave behind that we've mistaken for myth? If the Great Pyramid wasn't for the dead, then it was always meant for the living. Part 1. What mainstream Egyptology won't admit. For centuries, we were told that the Great Pyramid of Giza was a tomb, a magnificent grave for a god-king, a monument to death, built by slaves under the burning Egyptian sun. But what if none of that was true? There are no mummies inside the Great Pyramid, no funerary texts, no hieroglyphs on its inner walls, unlike almost every known tomb in Egypt. No trace of soot, despite the miles of pitch-black passageways that couldn't have been traversed without light. And no historical documents explaining how or why it was built with such astonishing precision. Let's begin with the math. The Great Pyramid is aligned to true north with an accuracy of 3/60ths of a degree, a feat even modern compasses struggle to replicate. Its base is almost a perfect square, the variance in length between sides less than an inch. It contains the value of pi, the golden ratio, the proportions of Earth, and even the speed of light, encoded through geometry and placement. That's not decoration, that's a blueprint. And the materials, not limestone alone. The inner core uses quartz-rich granite, sourced from Aswan, over 500 miles away. Granite is piezoelectric. It can generate an electric charge when put under pressure. Why go to such impossible lengths for a coffin? The king's chamber, allegedly where a pharaoh's body was placed, is made entirely of this granite. A narrow shaft leads directly to it. Not for ventilation, not for spirit flight, but perhaps to channel energy. Now let's look at the layout. The so-called air shafts point directly to Orion's belt and Sirius, cosmic markers of rebirth in ancient Egyptian cosmology. The Grand Gallery seems less like a hallway and more like a resonant chamber, its angled ceiling and smooth walls acting like an acoustic waveguide. And beneath it all, in the bedrock, lies a subterranean chamber, unfinished, carved into the earth itself, connected to water. You see, most Egyptologists won't ask the question that changes everything. What if the pyramid wasn't symbolic, but functional? What if it was designed, not for death, but for amplification? A structure built with specific geometry, charged materials, flowing water, and resonance. A machine. But here's the twist. If this wasn't a tomb, then everything we've been taught about the purpose of ancient civilization, about what the ancients knew and about the limits of their technology comes crashing down. Because the real mystery isn't how the pyramid was built, it's why. And that leads us to a forgotten force, a hidden science, a form of energy that doesn't come from wires or coal or combustion, but from the earth itself. Resonance, water, magnetism, geometry, and a civilization that knew how to use them all in harmony. The pyramid may not have been built for the dead, but to channel the living energy of the planet. So, if the design wasn't symbolic, what was it really powering? Let's go deeper. Part 2. Water, Sound, and Earth Energy. Beneath the Great Pyramid lies a secret most historians overlook. Water. The pyramid was built directly above an active underground aquifer, a flowing current of subterranean water. This isn't random, it's intentional. Ancient builders knew something we've forgotten. Water carries frequency. When it flows through limestone and granite, it generates subtle electrical charges, a natural vibration engine beneath the earth. And the Great Pyramid wasn't just sitting on this energy, it was tuned to it. Let's go deeper. The subterranean chamber carved directly into bedrock wasn't a burial site. It has no ornamentation, no decoration, no signs of a funerary purpose. But what it does resemble is a resonance chamber, a space where sound, pressure, and energy can build. A space designed to channel vibrational force upward. Now layer in the structure above. The king's chamber is lined with massive blocks of granite, quartz-rich and known for their piezoelectric properties. When compressed or vibrated, they generate electric charges. The walls and ceiling fit together with incredible precision, not to seal in a body, but to trap and amplify resonance. It's as if the chamber wasn't designed to hold a king, but to conduct something. And then there's the sound. Ancient Egyptian priests believed in sacred toning, chants and rituals designed to invoke frequency. Modern researchers have found that the king's chamber resonates at 432 Hz, a tone long associated with natural harmony and healing. Coincidence or deliberate? Now step back. You have water flowing beneath the pyramid, piezoelectric granite generating energy, a chamber designed to echo and contain specific sound frequencies, a structure aligned with planetary and stellar geometry. This isn't mythology, this is a system, and it gets stranger. The great inventor Nikola Tesla once said, "If you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." Tesla studied the pyramids extensively. He believed they weren't tombs, but transmitters. He theorized that the Earth itself could be tapped as an energy source, using resonance and harmonic tuning. Just like a tuning fork can make another fork vibrate across the room. Tesla believed certain structures could send power wirelessly across space. Sound familiar? What if the Great Pyramid was Earth's first wireless energy generator? A geometric capacitor pulling energy from below, amplifying it through sound and material, and projecting it upward, possibly even outward. But there's one more piece to this puzzle, because water, sound, and vibration weren't enough on their own. The true secret, the key to unlocking the entire mechanism, was something the ancients mastered like no other civilization on Earth. Geometry, not as art, but as activation code. So if water was the current, and vibration was the spark, then sacred geometry was the switch. And in Part 3, we'll uncover how the pyramid's shape wasn't just beautiful, it was functional. Part 3. Sacred Geometry and the Energy Grid. If the Great Pyramid truly functioned as an energy generator, then its shape wasn't ornamental. It was the technology, and it begins with numbers. The entire structure is encoded with mathematical constants. The golden ratio, phi 1.618, governs its proportions. The base perimeter divided by its height gives you an approximation of pi. The pyramid's height multiplied by 43,200 equals the polar radius of Earth. Its base multiplied by the same number equals Earth's equatorial circumference. This isn't coincidence. This is precision on a scale that defies modern explanation. The ancients weren't just stacking stones. They were embedding the language of the universe into architecture. And geometry wasn't the only layer. The placement of the Great Pyramid is equally uncanny. It sits almost perfectly on the center of Earth's landmass. Its sides align with true north, south, east and west, more precisely than any modern structure. And above it, the stars of Orion's belt. The three pyramids of Giza mirror them perfectly, suggesting an alignment not only with Earth, but with the heavens. Now, zoom out. Imagine Earth not as a rock in space, but as a living system. Just like the human body has chakra points, the Earth has energy nodes, places where lines of telluric energy intersect. These have been called ley lines, dragon lines, song lines. Guess what sits on these energetic intersections? Stonehenge, Teotihuacan, Machu Picchu, Angkor Wat, and Giza. The Great Pyramid wasn't just in a sacred place, it was the sacred place. It was a harmonic node, a tuning fork on the Earth's energy grid, placed precisely where it could draw in, amplify, and possibly even redistribute planetary energy. And it wasn't alone. Around the world, ancient sites are linked not just by myth, but by geometry. They share angles, ratios, and alignments to stars and solstices. They form geodetic patterns, as if the ancients were encoding a planetary circuit board. Imagine the Great Pyramid not as a monument, but as a power node in an ancient global system. A grid of consciousness and energy designed not just to power machines, but to elevate the human soul. Because the energy these structures worked with wasn't just physical, it was vibrational, subtle, spiritual. Geometry was the key, not for architecture, but for activation. But here's the deeper mystery. If the pyramid was designed to generate energy using Earth's vibration, water, and geometry, then what was the purpose of that energy? It wasn't lighting cities, it wasn't powering factories. It was something older, deeper, and far more powerful. It was for transformation. And in Part 4, we'll explore what the ancient Egyptians may have really used that power for. Not for technology, but for the soul. Part 4. The pyramid's real function, human and planetary activation. If the Great Pyramid was an energy generator, it didn't power lights, it powered lives. Because in ancient Egypt, energy was not just a force, it was a spirit. It wasn't mechanical, it was intentional. It didn't run through wires, it ran through consciousness. And at the heart of this monumental structure was its most mysterious chamber. The king's chamber. Not a tomb, not a shrine, but a frequency chamber designed for the initiation of the soul. The granite walls of this room, dense with quartz, hold a secret. When sound passes through them, they vibrate. When intention is added to that sound, something greater happens. Consciousness resonates. Researchers have found that the king's chamber naturally vibrates at approximately 432 Hertz, a frequency said to harmonize the body, the planet, and the cosmos. This isn't a coincidence. It's a coded design. Inside this chamber, initiates would lie within the stone box. not to be buried, but to be reborn. Sound, light, and breath were used together to alter the brain's frequency. Theta waves would take over. The veil between the physical and the spiritual would lift, and the soul would remember. This wasn't meditation, it was transmutation. The pyramid itself acted like a resonance amplifier, drawing in earth energy through underground aquifers, channeling it upward through the grand gallery, and focusing it like a laser into the king's chamber. Imagine it, a structure precisely aligned to the stars, built over energy lines, echoing with sacred sound, filled with breath, intention, and divine geometry. This wasn't superstition, it was spiritual engineering. And it wasn't limited to Egypt. In ancient India, vimanas, flying temples, were powered not by machines, but by mantras and magnetic fields. In Mesopotamia, ziggurats served as cosmic bridges between earth and sky, each level tuned to a planetary force. In South America, pyramidal temples were constructed over energetic hotspots, used for shamanic vision, healing, and stellar alignment. Everywhere you look, ancient civilizations used architecture as activation. They didn't just build monuments, they built mirrors of the cosmos, designed to awaken the divine blueprint within us. The Great Pyramid was not an isolated marvel. It was the crown of a planetary network, a global technology built to tune the human soul. And when you realize that, you understand that its real power wasn't physical, it was transformational, a place where the initiated stepped in as human and emerged as something more. But such power, the power to transform, to awaken, to remember who and what we really are, was dangerous to those who sought control. And so, it was buried, not beneath the sand, but beneath centuries of misdirection, misinterpretation, and silence. In Part 5, we'll uncover the story of that silence, how the pyramid's true purpose was hidden, and why its reawakening now might be exactly what this world needs. Are you ready? Part 5. Why this knowledge was hidden. If the Great Pyramid of Giza was more than a tomb, if it was a machine of light, a portal of soul resonance, a generator of living energy, then one question remains. Why was this truth buried? The answer isn't just in the desert. It's in the history books, in the museums, in the silence that replaced a once vibrant science of the soul. When Western explorers discovered Egypt in the 18th and 19th centuries, they didn't uncover its secrets. They rebranded them. Through the lens of colonial superiority, everything mystical was labeled myth. Everything energetic was called symbolic. Everything sacred was reduced to ritualistic fantasy. The Great Pyramid didn't fit into their worldview, so they forced it to. Despite no mummy ever being found inside, despite no soot on the walls from torches, despite its impossible alignment to the stars and to Earth's grid, they told the world, it's just a tomb. But why such certainty? Why such erasure? Because acknowledging the pyramid as a functioning spiritual technology would challenge the very foundations of modern power. If the ancients had mastered sound resonance, subtle energy, and interdimensional access, then modern institutions, governments, religions, and science itself would lose their monopoly on truth. And worse, it would awaken humanity to a terrifying idea that the divine is not above us, but inside us. That we don't need churches to connect with higher realms. That we are the temples, we are the initiates, we are the power. That kind of realization is dangerous. To empires, to doctrines, to control. So the narrative was rewritten. Priests became primitive astrologers. Initiation chambers became funerary rooms. Star maps became decorative myths. Meanwhile, real power, hidden in geometry, light, sound, and human consciousness, was sealed behind closed doors, or worse, laughed out of the conversation entirely. But power can't be destroyed, only concealed, and so it lived on, in symbols, in esoteric schools, in whispers between mystics, geomancers, and visionaries. And today, something is shifting. People are waking up to the lies. They're looking again at Giza, not as tourists, but as seekers. Because deep down, we know, this was never just a structure. It was a message, and not a message to the past, a message to the future, to you, a memory encoded in stone, waiting for the right resonance to awaken again. So ask yourself, what would happen if we reactivated the grid? If the chambers hummed again with vibration, intention, and will? If the pyramid was turned back on, not as a relic, but as a ritual? What would happen if we stopped looking at the pyramid as a tomb and finally remembered it as a living temple? Because the technology isn't lost, it's dormant. And the moment you remember your power, it begins to wake. 6. Final CTA. If the pyramids weren't monuments to the dead, but machines for the living, then history isn't just mistaken. It's hiding the future. Beneath every block of stone lies a code, a blueprint for awakening, a resonance waiting to return. Subscribe now and step into the lost science of ancient power, soul geometry, and planetary alignment. Because the ancients didn't just build for eternity, they built for you. Next episode teaser, the secrets of sacred sounds and vibrational healing.